If you listen to the mainstream media, there is no debate about global climate change. It's happening. The Earth is getting warmer. There's nothing you can do about it. Man has caused all of it. Scientists agree. Now fork over the cash. Given those facts, there is absolutely no way that a major conference on climate change skeptics could possibly be going on in New York City this week. Remember, overwhelming consensus of scientists have said the debate is over. So it would be impossible for over 400 of them to have gathered today for workshops and presentations of topics and, like the role of nature versus human activity or the truth about climate change in Florida. And since it's clear that anyone who disagrees with the so-called overwhelming consensus on global warming is either a shill for big oil or an uneducated hack, or I believe I was called a corporate fascist by Robert F. Kennedy, that people with impeccable credentials like Harvard astrophysicist Willie Soon, Wharton professor Scott Armstrong, or IPCC co-chairman Yuri Israel could be in New York today to speak at a conference like that. And there is absolutely no way that a sitting president of an important country like the Czech Republic, President Václav Klaus, would be giving the keynote address at a conference, let alone be sitting right here in my studio to talk about it. But wow, he is. Mr. President, welcome, sir.
Welcome.
You are a remarkable man because you are fearless on this topic. You are one of the only people that will talk about it as a leader of a nation. And now you're here in New York. You were just reelected. You've got your inauguration. I believe it's next week.
This Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
Why are you here in New York?
Well, I consider this topic absolutely crucial, and in this respect, what speaks for me is the experience from the past with the communist regime. It was the same problem, you know, idea which looks very nice, which transcends the people. Now we have to do something about it, and I'm afraid that this is the way how to block freedom, how to stop democracy in the world, and how to stop prosperity as well. You know?
It is so funny in so many ways. I did a week-long special all last week on fascism, and this is the kind of thing that they look for. They look for something. Not war, but a war on something where you could unite everybody. I mean, if you could put a fake spaceship up above the Earth and say, there's our common enemy, we would unite. That's what this is.
Well, let's pay attention to using some words which were used for other things. Fascism, I think, is an overstatement. I wouldn't do that. Nevertheless, this is a problem with our freedom. I recently wrote a book about climate change with the subtitle, What is Endangered? Climate or freedom? And my answer is very clear and very resolute. It's freedom. Okay. So this is what bothers me.
So then help me with the problem with the word fascism, because if you disagree, you're immediately scared into silence.
Yeah.
You can't have a conversation. I mean, I had a conversation today with some of the best scientific minds on the planet on this today, and one of them said to me, well, Glenn, I mean, you would be foolish not to consider the other side and really look. But on the other side, on the Al Gore side, they'll shut you down and paint you as a lunatic.
That's the problem. They don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to discuss because they are afraid that they don't have enough arguments. That's my experience with all of them. But it seems to me that you must have courage to do something, and I know that it's politically incorrect to have the views I have. Nevertheless, I succeeded being re-elected as president of the country 2 weeks ago, and everyone in the country knows about my views on global warming and climate change, and I was re-elected in spite of that, which means that it's possible and it's, I would say, necessary to do.
Because you're an economist. I mean,
That's the basis for my thinking, because I would say that a global climate change debate is not about science, as I would say climatology. It's more about social sciences, because it's the issue of the society, what to do with people, what to do with mankind. Therefore, I am very sorry that the social sciences are more or less silent in this discussion.
How do you mean?
No, they don't participate in conferences on neither side, you know, which is a problem.
I am you know, if you're an economist, so you know what America is going through in the economy and the World Wide Web that this thing is, it's spreading all around. I am so concerned that you take a project like global warming and you spend trillions of dollars. And you give it to an organization like the UN. What you're doing is you're selling your sovereignty. You're collapsing the economy as we know it. True or false?
This is what I see as well. So for me, to send the sovereignty somewhere from the relevant countries is a problem for me. The global governance is, for me, who lived in the communist era, all kinds of governance represent a problem. So global governance, global problem. So I am very much against it, and the problem is that there is a danger that it will dramatically stop or block economic growth, the rise of the living standards, and especially the problem will be for developing countries.
When you first started hearing this, do you remember a time? Was there a time when you thought to yourself, "Oh my, I mean, this is Stalin stuff. This is communism. This is the way it all started last time"? Was there a moment like that?
I must say that for me it started in the early 70s, but it was not about global warming. It was the environmentalist attack connected with the Club of Rome about the limits to growth, and it was structurally the same discussion, and it was in the dark communist days in my country, and we were really not free to come here to New York City and to have this conversation. Nevertheless, I consider this as a problem, and just the topics have changed a little bit. Nevertheless, the structure of the thinking of people is the same. Some famous environmentalists are permanent participants of the debate, even if the topic has changed a little bit. Paul Ehrlich here was very active 35, 40 years ago. He's active now, even if the topic is different. The logic is the same.
Here in America, we are seeing a campaign now where people are just voting, in many ways, at least at this point, with their emotion, especially on this issue. They'll say, for instance, I've had several people say, "I'm a progressive," and I'll say, "Well, what does that even mean?" And they'll say, "Well, it has progress in the name." Or they'll say, "I want to vote for the first woman or the first African American because it says something about me. I want to save the planet," and they don't think it through. What would you say to people who aren't engaging?
Again, I must say that to spend most of my life in the communist era is paradoxically, in some respect, a comparative advantage. You understand some things, and for me, many terms, many words have a really different meaning. Because, for example, when you mentioned the term progress, it was so popular in the communist era, in the hands of the communist bosses, you know, that the term progress has been so much discredited in my country that I would say that almost no politician, as compared to your country, no politician in my country would dare to use that term, because everyone would say that this is connected with Mr. Brezhnev and with our Czechoslovak Brezhnev. So no one would use the term. So when I hear it here, I think, well, they quite innocently use terms which
some are using it.
Use,
Some are using it innocently. Some, I think, know what they're doing. Mr. President, we're going to have you back later on in the week, because I want to talk to you a little bit about Cuba. I want to talk to you about the missile shield. I want to talk to you about Russia and Putin and everything else. But it is truly a pleasure, sir, to meet you and have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.